Hello everybody, it's good to be back. Look where I am. I am in my kitchen here in Los Angeles after taking a very long break. Boy, did I have fun. My sister and I went on a cruise in Italy and Greece, and I have never slept so much in my life. I know a lot of people get sick when they go on cruises, but my sister and I the cruise rocked us to sleep. And we slept so well, and it was just so relaxing. The food was amazing. The people were great. And now we're planning our next vacation. Where do we get to go next? So today we're going to do a couple things. The first is to review some remotes that I've had. I've had these remotes for a couple of months, and I just want to go back and review them a little bit, and it has to do with the weather. A couple of months ago, I was doing a meditation on the weather. I believe I documented this. And the first sensation I had when I tuned into the weather was wind, just extreme wind. And I heard myself say, the winds are coming. So I documented it and said, the winds are coming. So this energy feels like we talked about the earth having an immune system, that it finds ways to balance itself out. So this feels to me like the earth's immune system coming in and using wind to tear things up, rip things apart. We might be seeing more twisters, hurricanes, just winds coming in and tearing things up. That was the first thing that I documented, and I started feeling that those winds a good 4 or 5 months ago probably was when I started to start sensing this energy. The other image I had a couple of months ago was of dams breaking and rivers flooding and levees breaking. So my concern here with this meditation was that I'm going to be very specific here. I don't think the American infrastructure can tolerate the changes that are going to be happening over the next 2 to 3 years with the weather. So my concern is that the levees we currently have, the dams we currently have, the infrastructure we currently have to protect us from flash floods, river floods, hurricanes, tidal waves, etc., that the infrastructure is not there to deal with the extreme weather changes we're going to be seeing in the coming years. And I'm very concerned about what the United States looks like in August of this year. So people often will contact me, what can we do? First off, to be mindful of what the environment is doing is a good start. So we're looking at pockets of flooding in the Midwest, central United States, increases in wind, and we're seeing rivers flooding, the Ohio River, the Mississippi River, etc., as more of these floods hit the central United States. But specifically vulnerable is also the state of Texas. I'm very concerned that Texas is going to have a hard year. I know they had a hard year last year, but unfortunately there are two things that are heating up Texas. The first thing that's heating up Texas is the cattle industry, right? So you've got all this methane gas over the Gulf. And the second is the oil rigs. So that seems to be drawing a lot of hot moisture to that area over the coming months. And so I'm concerned about levees, infrastructure in Texas. I'm concerned about infrastructure in Florida and along the southeastern United States as well. But the takeaway here is that we did too little too late about the infrastructure. We've argued, we were in denial for 20 years. An inconvenient truth predicted all of this 20 years ago, and we sat on infrastructure. And my concern is that it's now too late to save many areas of the southern United States. part of what's going on with the immigrants flooding the United States is that South America and Central America is experiencing unusual weather and droughts, and that is driving immigration north. And again, this was something that was predicted 20 years ago, that we would be seeing massive migration patterns as areas dried up. Sticking our heads in the sand, not having these issues be covered by the media is not helping the country, and it's not helping us in terms of infrastructure. Finding out everything we can about how to have zero waste homes, writing companies that we really love and saying, please get off the single-use plastic. I love your product, but I'm going to have to stop purchasing it because it's not in a biodegradable container. Reducing how much fossil fuel we use. Ride a bicycle when you can. Eat mostly local, plant-based. If you like to have animal products in your diet, that's fine, but it's better for your health to have most of your calories come from plants. And if you do like animal products, just take what you need. You know, good common sense goes a long way. And of course, be active in local politics, and also in the great debate in terms of helping to decide who we want to have in charge of our country, and hopefully it's people that care about the environment. So those are all things we can do. Sitting back and waiting for the politicians to save us, I think the horrifying thing that people are starting to realize in this country is that no one's going to save us. That this is happening, and that just as migrants are leaving Guatemala and central United States, we could be seeing another drought in the Midwest, and people headed again to California, just as they did in the 1930s. This is one of the reasons why I get a strong hit on Elizabeth Warren, because Elizabeth Warren is really channeling FDR. So it's interesting that she's being depicted by the Republicans as this crazy wacko, when I have not found any of her speeches to be, when it comes to the economy, to be all that radical if you compare it to some of the stuff that FDR spoke about in the New Deal. Supporting the unions, working wages, protecting the environment. And also it was FDR, the New Deal, that created job opportunities, caring for the environment, etc., etc. So I think she's going to do very well, because that's the right message at the right time. But after this August, September, when we start to see a lot of environmental changes starting to happen, that is when I think the tide is going to turn, particularly in the southern United States, which unfortunately is going to get, the southern United States and the Midwest will unfortunately experience some extreme weather. I believe last year in South Carolina, possibly North Carolina and Georgia as well, there was something like 200 factory farms were destroyed. Again, because the heat is attracting a lot of moisture from the methane gas. So we're going to see that intensify, that type of, I try to be positive. The positive spin is that it's up to you and me to save ourselves, and we can do that through taking our own responsibility through stewardship. All right. So I was asked to throw cards on a couple of things. The first is to throw for the GOP. People want to know if the GOP is genuinely turning away from this president. I agree with the other sensitives that have been doing videos here on YouTube that energetically it just doesn't feel like the Republicans support the president as much as they do publicly, but they're afraid to come out and say anything. So let's go ahead and we're just going to check the future relationship between the GOP and this current administration. Let's take a look. What is the future of the GOP's relationship with this president? The base card the work. It's interesting when I tune into the energy of the GOP in relationship to Donald Trump, it's a feeling like it's becoming increasingly hard. 10 of Wands, it's become a burden that they cannot carry. It was a burden that was difficult, but if you keep carrying something for a really, really long time, you become weakened. Your body needs a break. It becomes too heavy to carry. You might be able to carry something for a year. You might be able to carry a politician for 2 years, but there comes a breaking point. And that is the feeling that I get when I move into this energy. It's a feeling like I've reached the breaking point with this president. I cannot continue to carry the burden of this president. Also a feeling of anger and frustration, as if they've never found it so difficult to communicate with a candidate before. Where they are at right now, cutting it off, right? Page of Swords brings messages by air, but it's also a relationship of severing or termination. What crosses the GOP? An attempt to heal or make deals. It's interesting. Both of these are pages, and pages are depicted in the card charts as messengers. It can be messages of healing when it comes with a cup, messages of termination or severing or war. So again, it just feels to me when I go into this energy like this administration has begun to lose the support of the GOP. What is above? A star is coming. Again, this just feels to me like working through deals, benefactors, negotiating deals. I remember when I was tuning into this president a couple of months ago, and it looked like he was being offered early resignation with an opportunity for immunity for him and some of his children. And then he kept rejecting these offers. During the government shutdown, I thought that he was very close to resignation, and yet he did not resign. But every time I pull the cards, every time I do cards with him and the GOP, it always seems to be saying the same thing: an opportunity to negotiate an early resignation. There's been this idea that if we impeach the president in the House, he will not be impeached in the Senate. But I believe as the impeachment hearings progress, that is precisely what's going to happen. It's going to gain speed in the Senate as the Senate realizes that this is not a person that they can continue to support. And that is really what we're starting to see with the Justice Department as well. As I had said, I felt that the Justice Department was giving this president time to make a decision about what he wanted to do. They were basically giving themselves time to fill the courts with conservatives. They knew that inevitably they were going to dump this president. This is more about how can we delay as long as possible to push our agenda, and then when it begins to threaten our re-election, we may switch things up. What is around? Hopes and fears and final outcome. Here it is again. A deal is going to be struck. A deal is going to be struck that they can see the writing on the wall. That's the best way for me to interpret these cards. All right, so that's what I see. I see that time is limited for this president. I don't want people focusing a lot on this administration. Instead, I would rather everybody to be focusing on the solutions. The fact that Elizabeth Warren is looking for solutions. She has strong opinions. Who do I think the corporate pick is? I think the corporate pick is Biden. That's not to say there are still supporters in the GOP that love this president. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that the moderate GOP is probably going to side with the moderate Democrats and get behind Biden. I think Meghan McCain has basically said that she's probably going to get behind Biden. So that's an interesting quandary. The question is, do we need the Republicans in order to win the next election? And I don't think we do, but that's the argument. Okay, I was asked if I could check to see if there's going to be another GOP candidate that goes up against Trump in 2020. I believe there is a gentleman named Ward. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle and see if another GOP candidate is going to beat this president. Let's take a look. Will there be a contender going against this president? GOP, how's it going to do? No, actually, I think that the Republican that's going up against Trump is probably going to drop out. I don't see him building enough support. There's a 8 of Cups moving in with the other candidate. Where we're at right now, Fool takes a leap of faith. It's possible that people are going to start funding opposition candidates, but I just don't see it getting as much traction as Republicans instead throwing in the towel and picking a moderate Democrat. It feels to me more like offers and deals and negotiations with the Dems to try and produce a candidate that at least a percentage of moderate Republicans will support. We don't need 100% support from the Republicans. That's not what the Democrats need in the general election. What we need is just a certain percentage. If, for example, 20% of registered Republicans vote for Biden, then Biden would win the election. So this just feels to me, again, like, no, the person that's taking it is not going to be a Republican. The person taking it is more than likely going to be somebody who the Democrats pick. And I don't, I'm going to throw on Biden, but to be honest with you, I don't think Biden is going to win. I really think Warren is going to take it. But let's take a look again at Joe Biden's cards. Base card. He's losing support. He does have big donor support, though. This is the thing that people are finding disturbing about Biden's campaign, is the fact that he has incredibly wealthy donors backing him. But the message you get when you go into these wealthy donors is that not all wealthy people are bad people. That some of the wealthy donors are moderates that do want health care for their employees. They are concerned about the environment. They do want to bring the conversation forward in terms of environment, living wages, health care, etc. And this administration scares them. So he definitely has strong backing. If you ask me who I think the people have picked Elizabeth Warren and Buttigieg coming up in the next 6 months to a year. Who did corporate America pick? Corporate America picked Biden, and we're going to see that play itself out. I don't see Kamala Harris making it, Beto O'Rourke making it, Bernie Sanders. I just don't think that they're going to be in the top tier. All right, so that wraps up today's tarot reading. Thanks for the support, everybody, and thank you for the well wishes while I was away. It meant a lot to me. And thank you to Ilana She came and got a reading last week, and she brought me some henna hair dye, environmentally friendly, so I got to play with dyeing my hair again, but not hurting Mother Earth in the process. So yeah, so that was fun. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. If you're trying to get in for a reading, yes, I'm back and I'm awake. I got plenty of sleep, so I'm ready to go. All right, please reach out to me if you'd like a reading, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.